Hey guys, waiting for Cody to jump on. We are starting here in just a minute. Today is going to be pretty cool. And yesterday we were in the studio talking about which text platforms we use and all of that. And typically, guys, on Sunday service, what we talk about is we talk about all creative financing structures. So we're going to talk a lot about creative financing. I've got my whiteboard behind me. We're going to break down some deals today, answer a lot of questions you guys have. But we get a lot of questions of which lists we're typically pulling. And hold on, Cody's texting me. Okay, cool. He's jumping on here in just a second. So, yo, what up, guys? Appreciate you guys tuning in to Sunday service. We used to do this in the studio every week. We did it for about a year. We got to a point where we had about 500 people watching live, having a ton of fun on the show. And then our studio couldn't handle the bandwidth, honestly. They ran into a situation where our audio, nobody could hear us, nobody could comment. It was just overwhelming. So hold on just a sec. Yo, what up, guys? Anyway, so tonight what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a couple of deals. Actually, we have a couple of deals we've contracted in the last week or so. We're gonna go through those deals, and then Cody is going to pull lists utilizing the software that we use. Yo, what up, Matt Beard? I saw that today on your IG, bro. I saw you hanging that shiplap. That's in the new house, I imagine. That here we are. My integrator finally figured out technology. Hold on. Yo, what up, dog?
Yo. Oh man, I'm here.
Glad to see you alive, man. So tell me this, on your side, because you're not the host technically, are you able to do a screen share from your side?
Let's see. Looks like it.
Oh, I love it. All right, guys. So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into a handful of things. Cody and I typically at Sunday service, we just jump into and start talking about the world at large, deals that we're working, things that we're looking at inside of our business, and then we get into nitty gritty. So what I really, really want, guys, is I want people asking questions. I want people asking questions they're curious about. I don't care if they're dumb. I don't care if they're new questions. I don't care what they are. Try and stump me. Try and stump Cody. If it's about creative financing, that's what this Sunday service is all about. We have, we got an interesting story, actually. What's the name of, oh, it's Loftium. So let's jump right into it. So, oh, guys, you want to get some sub 2 hats, you got to be super special. Rick, you are super special. We'll have to get you one. So for anybody that's just watching, this is our logo, Subject 2. We also do a lot of seller finance. We do a ton of lease options. One of the deal apart. We had a 3-year lease signed, and it just fell apart like a couple weeks ago. What happened there? 17th. Tell us the story on that.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so guys, we actually had, sorry for the blue light, my other monitor's turning off here, but yeah, so basically what happened is we had a property that we found a company to lease the property. So in our eyes, we're like, great, a company leasing a property is probably more likely to not default on their payments versus, a typical person with a lease, right? So basically, we rented this property to the company. There's a main house, and then there's a studio in the back of this. And so what Loftium does is they sign leases on properties that have separate living quarters. They sublease the main living space at a reduced amount, and then they Airbnb the other unit. So basically, Loftium was Airbnb-ing the studio at this property that we own, and the owner of Loftium called me last week and basically said, because of everything going on with the coronavirus, they had hundreds of leases on properties, and Airbnb, if you guys didn't know, were forcing refunds back to anyone that was canceling reservations because of the coronavirus. So totally wiped out their business. There was nothing left for them to be able to do. So on our end, I haven't even talked to you about this, Pace, but on Thursday and Friday, I was problem solving with the tenant. And we actually have, to try to make it an easy living space, right? Because we would have to be renting something in such close quarters to the main house. We actually found one of their friends actually is probably going to be renting that back studio for $900 a month, which is, will still allow us to cash flow on the property. I just got his application, reviewed it. Everything looks good. Just verifying employment and then calling him tomorrow. So it looks like we'll be, that problem will be solved. But it's crazy times.
Yeah, it's interesting, dude. That guy's entire business is destroyed. His entire business model, which, I've been talking to a lot of people about Airbnb, and I'm sure there's people on here that are watching. We've got about 100 people watching right now. There are a lot of people that think Airbnb is a good strategy. And I don't
think it's bad. I don't think if that's your only thing, I think it's bad.
Right. That's the thing, is like this guy's entire business, Loftium, was built entirely off our Airbnb. Yeah. And while I do think it's smart, I mean, essentially what he did is he took our subject to, right? We bought that house subject to. He took our loan, which we committed to, and we actually have money tied us up into a 3-year lease, which we were like, hell yeah. Like, this is a corporation. Like, we don't have to worry about this lease for 3 years. This is amazing. And they didn't want a lease option. They just wanted a straight up rental agreement, right? So we were making good money because I had a main house and a guest house. And then one day he calls you up and says, hey, our entire business is gone, right? Like, I'm not a prophet at all, but I've been telling people, like, if Airbnb is the only thing you're doing, the first sign of bad economic situations coming up, first thing that goes away is plastic surgery, golf club memberships, and Airbnbs. Like, it's all the stuff that people are frivolous spending, right? So Airbnb, travel, vacation, stuff like that, it just goes all away, right? So, hey, by the way, guys, I have I see your questions, and I'm actually writing them on the board so I don't forget them. But Cody's going to continue to tell a little bit about that stuff. Cody, see if you can do a screen share. And let's test that out while I go through some of these questions for a second. So, let's see. So how do you do your famous pitch now that it's all over the phone? Guys, our pitch has always been all over the phone. I would say 80% of the contracts that we are signing. Ooh, I love that.
Can you see?
Can I see your screen share? Oh, yes. Yes. Ooh, I love it. Hell yeah, guys. This is awesome. So we've never done screen share before, but this is awesome that we can actually make this really clear. So anyway, let's go through a couple of questions real quick. So I'm telling you, this coronavirus scare, I'm going to vow to tell everybody, if you bring up the coronavirus to me starting April 1st, you're going to get a karate chop directly to the neck. Because here's the reality of it. Is it going to change our economy? Is it going to change everything that Cody and I are doing in our business? Absolutely. 100%. But the second I start worrying about things is the second I stop working. It's the second I stop being creative. It's the second I stop, going out and forging new paths and stuff like that. So all I have to do is look at it and say, what did the people in other market shifts do that came out of it just fine, right? And so we're just going to double down on our efforts and double down on our work. We're not going to let the coronavirus stop us. We're going to just reinvent little things and not even worry about it. If somebody comes at me personally in terms of like trying to instill anxiety or, hey, what are you going to do? It's like, dude, we answered those questions 2 weeks ago. It's time to start talking about dope shit and creating new things and new avenues, right? So anyway, let's go through a couple questions. So CPG says, how do I get a hold of one of your performance deeds? I have a seller asking about it. Here's what's so funny. People want copies of all of our paperwork. We spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on our paperwork. And then they say, well, I have a seller that wants it. Guy, you don't have a seller who wants it. Seller doesn't even know what a performance deed is, bro. You could just ask nicely. I'd be happy to give it to you. But you don't have a seller that's asking you for a performance deed, bro. They don't. That's like the 12-year-old asking you where they want an alternator. They don't know what an alternator is. Your seller has no idea what a performance deed is unless you told them but that's pretty rare for us to bring that up. But I'm happy to share it with you. Email me and I'll share it with you. How do we write a contract for a subject to? So guys, I hear this a lot, and even I say this a lot. You don't need a special subject to contract. The answer is yes, you do. You absolutely do need a special subject to contract. What I specifically tell people is you don't need a subject to contract to get the seller in a contract, but you immediately have to follow it up with subject to addendums. So if you guys need addendums and all that stuff, hit me up, hit my email up, and we'll get you guys set up with some documents. But our contract, what we've learned is that when we sign a contract with a seller on a subject to or seller finance, we actually have them handwrite the reason why they are selling their house to us in creative terms instead of a cash offer. They actually write it down in pen. I almost want to like see if I can throw it on here, like in the post. I wonder if I can like put a photo up here. Anyway, I'll pull that up. But so while I'm pulling that up, this is going to be good. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up so you guys can see this little section of this contract. But on our subject to addendums, we are absolutely making the seller sign a little portion in their own handwriting. And then we also have them do a due on sale acknowledgement. We have them do a limited power of attorney. Here we go. Here is a right here. Boom. Seller understands that he or she may be selling the property for less than its full market value and has chosen to sell this property in either a subject to or seller finance circumstance. These reasons, blah, 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 even a discounted price in the seller's best interest. These reasons include, but are not limited to, the following: seller to write in their own handwriting. Examples: I cannot afford payments, and or I need a quick sale. So we actually have the seller handwrite the reason why they're selling the house to us subject to, so that we can have in a pen, like in a pen, in their own handwriting, why they sold their house to a subject to. Because there have been, not from our side, but there have been people in masterminds, creative finance masterminds that I'm in nationwide, that say sellers come back 2-3 years later and say, I never signed that. So we've added certain things to our purchase contract. Guys, I'm not joking you. We probably put 20 grand into legal fees and consulting with other people that have been doing this for 50 years to build our purchase contract. So if you guys want access to that, just hit me up on my email. But don't ask for a purchase contract if you aren't talking to sellers, guys. So many people want to talk about contracts when they haven't talked to a seller in the last month. If you are trying to get into this business, a contract is not going to get you contracts. The only thing that's going to get you contracts is what Cody is going to show you tonight. And I will help you when you get the paperwork. And so CPG, I was just busting your chops about your seller not asking. I don't know if you made a comment about that yet.
I was going to say too, Pace, I think people get so caught up in actual paperwork. People get too caught up in the paperwork, and it's really like, if you have a seller that, you know, is ready to agree to terms, like our title company, most title companies that'll actually put these deals together, your title company will help you, you know, fumble your way through the transaction. They'll tell you what you need. If you filled out the contract wrong, their title company is going to be, you know, your best partner to let you know, hey, this isn't going to work. You know, we need an addendum. We need to make a couple changes. If you have a seller that's truly motivated and moving forward, you can go back, make changes, but your title company is going to be your best friend on getting these deals done. So, you know, don't get so caught up in the contracts, get caught up in the prospecting of leads that are going to get you actual contracts.
Okay, so guys, we got a ton of questions. Like literally, we're already at like 200 comments on here. So let me go through this real quick. By the way, we're gonna crush through some of these questions real quick. How do I get a hold of your performance deed? Again, CPG. Performance deeds are not something you're gonna find online. It's something that I have not ran into anybody doing except for us. I'm sure people are doing it, but we had to create our own document. What a performance deed means is that it puts the seller's mind at ease. So a lot of times the seller will go, hey, what happens if you don't make my payments? We go, oh, that's easy. If I buy the house subject to, that means that you have to foreclose on me. And that could take 3 to 9 months in Arizona. So I know you don't want to do that. So why don't we create a document that states that on the 31st day that I'm late, the house is deeded back to you without you fighting, without you litigating, without anything. That piece of paper is called a performance deed. We had to create our own because we basically, in our minds, came up with it. We've heard other people doing it, but we could never find anybody that had it. So we created it on our own, had our attorneys draft that up. So how do you explain to a realtor that insists that the seller carryback is the same as a subject to? I try not to fight with real estate agents at all. I try not to explain to them anything. So what I will do is sometimes I'll create a YouTube video for it specifically, and then I'll send them, I'll just say, hey, just did this video, just want to explain the difference to you, so that I'm not doing it over the phone to them. I know that's not what normal people have to, do. Go on YouTube and maybe find a couple of people explain the difference between performance deed or seller carryback and a subject to. Seller carryback is so simple to explain. It just means that they don't have any debt at all, right? Or it could mean it's a hybrid too. So Evangelina, just so you know, we did a deal on, what was that?
Colorado.
What was it?
Colorado,
that's right. So Colorado was a house that we did, and we bought the house for like $135.
Yep.
But the mortgage in place was only $65,000.
Yep.
Right? So we call this a hybrid. So basically, we took over a mortgage of $65,000, and as you can see, there's another 65. What is that? $75,000.
70. Yeah, 70,000. We put 10 grand down on it.
So the seller had equity of $70,000. So on that portion of the $70,000, we did not give the seller the $70,000. We created a payment structure along with that. So every month, Martine is his name. Martine gets a payment from us for $350, interest free, by the way. That was my little magic. So I got that seller to give us that $70,000 and carried back that equity to us at 0%. So he gets a check every single month for $350, and then we make the mortgage payment on the 65. So it doesn't have to be completely paid off free and clear. We call this method the hybrid method. So a portion of it has a subject to, the other portion is seller finance. So yeah, I just basically explained the difference between hybrid and seller finance is that it's fully paid off. Let's see, how do we target Airbnb owners? That's a really great question. I don't know the answer to that, Brandon, but that's a really great question. I did get a message from one of my investors. He said, I'm going to hold on to my money because in about 3 weeks, all the Airbnb people are going to be dumping their properties on the market. And I would say that that's true.
So I still am a realtor, Pace. I'm in my real estate Facebook group, and there's a lot of coming soon listings that I'm seeing that are getting posted in there of fully furnished, great Airbnb. It's like, no shit. It would have been a great Airbnb. That's why you're selling it, because it's not anymore.
So Pace, if I get a great subject to deal up here in Oregon, are you willing to look at it as a potential deal? No, guys, I'm going to be honest. I will help you sell it. But right now we are not buying any subject to deals except in Arizona. That changed about 2-3 weeks ago. We were buying in like 12 markets, and then we are happy to buy. We have investors. In fact, Cody and I spent all day Friday afternoon or Friday morning with one of our best investors, just kind of getting an idea where he's at. He's a good cash buyer. We'll help you offload a subject to. I just helped somebody offload a subject to in Dallas last week. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Cody is the one that actually did that. But we're happy to help you guys find buyers. But outside of Arizona, we are not closing escrow on deals. In fact, Atlanta, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but Georgia closed down their ability to even close any transaction. So Alex Salazar, 3 good reasons why a sub 2 may be better than a cash offer for the seller. Oh my gosh, that's all you want is 3? Shoot, bro. How about number one? Number one, most important, is they're actually going to make more money, right? They're going to make more money. Number 2, they actually have somebody that's going to care after the property. Number 3, they're going to have their credit rebuilt on a subject to, especially if they're in foreclosure. If they're in foreclosure, a lot of the sales pitch to a seller is, hey, this actually is a good, they'll say, well, why would I want to keep my mortgage in place? I'm like, well, I don't know. You haven't been paying your mortgage for 6 months. Wouldn't it be way better for you to keep it in your name so I can rebuild your credit for you? I mean, you're going to leave and go rent out an apartment. You're not going to have anything building your credit. At least let me make the mortgage payment on your behalf. Then that way, for the next several years, one of the best things that could be on your credit is being paid every single month on time. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, unless you have something else that's building your credit right now, let me keep your mortgage in place. Another thing is you can structure deals. I'm like kind of opposed to this because I just feel like there's so many deals out there, but you can structure deals that the seller gets a portion of the cash flow. I'm opposed to that, but like my buddy Eric Sage, he does that on a lot of his deals. I just personally don't like doing that because I don't want to talk to the seller really after the deal is done. I just want to move on and do more deals, right? So anyway, there's 4 reasons for you. Well, what I mean is, how do I pitch sub 2 over the phone, and what does your dispo channel look like? So the way we pitch subject to, let's talk about converting over from wholesale. So we get a wholesale. Most of our leads come in through our wholesale channel right now, which is what Cody's going to go over tonight. We're going to go over what lists we're pulling. We're going to go over how we're having that first conversation with sellers, and how Cody is pulling the list, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to talk about all that here in a little bit. So Cody, we get a lead that comes in and the seller says, well, I want 200,000, right? We're always going for the 4 pillars. 4 pillars are motivation. I want to know why they would sell to an investor. Then I want to know their price right out of the gate. Like, I'm the best at getting price out of people. I feel like it's somewhat silly that people are afraid to talk price with sellers. It's the first thing that should come out, like right out of the gate. It's almost like going on a date with a girl and not asking her if she's dating somebody else. It's almost foolish not to ask the question. Like, you need to ask the price question right out of the gate, even before you ask the seller's name. So you just say, hi, my name is Pace. I'm looking for a property in your area. Would you be willing to sell? I don't know what I might be. Okay, well, great. What would that number be if you were going to sell today? What would that number be? I jump on it like that fast. So if the seller says, I want $200,000 for a $200,000 house, we then convert that from a wholesale to seller finance. And the way we do that is we say, okay, well, Mr. Seller, if you want $200,000 for your property, that's not a problem. We would have to come up considerably from a cash offer, and I would have to ask you for terms in response to that. Would you be willing to give us terms? And the seller will either say yes or no. And if they say, oh, I don't know, like tomorrow we have somebody with a fourplex that's like, yeah, I'm open to seller finance. I want to get rid of these, right? So I'm going to skip through some of these. You mentioned your private money lenders cover your entry fee. How do you structure payback? Our lenders typically will stay in the deal as long as the lease option E is in that deal. So Jonathan, let's say that I buy a house subject to, the private lender pays for all my entry fee to get into that deal. On the exit, we do a 5-year lease option. That means that investor will typically get paid out at that 5 years, or have an option to stay in the deal depending on. Would you buy a property subject to that's upside down 20 or so in this current market? It's an interest only. Hell no. Interest only loan. Mike Van Ness, like rule number 2 in subject to is never, ever, ever, ever buy an interest only loan. So I'm not even going to answer the question. The rest of that, always stay away from interest only loans, reverse mortgages. What are the other, like 2 others? Let's crank through. What are the pros you can tell a seller when explaining subject to? I just went through 4 of those. There's literally like 15 pros. Yes, forms. I'll give you forms.
Let's answer the question from Brandon, because obviously he's working in the JV department, so it helps people understand what we actually need. So what information do I need if I want you to help me close a subject to?
Ooh, I don't even want the address. What do I want, Cody?
Well, first of all, you want to know what their payment is. You want to know what their interest rate is. And then you also want to know, the term left on it. So, I mean, that's not as important, but the most important is going to be, what's the monthly payment? What's the loan type? What's the interest rate on the loan? And then you want to know the rent rates. So those are the important items for understanding what we would need to know to be able to help you. And then outside of that, you need to have a seller. I'm going to wait for you to write those down there. But outside of that, guys, you're going to need a seller that wants to sell, is actually motivated to sell, and meaning they have some sort of reason, and they're on a timeline. Because regardless of, if you know their rent, the rate, their payment, their interest, all that information, if you're just talking to a seller that may be open to an offer, but they're not actually motivated to sell. They don't have a reason to sell, and they don't have a timeline to sell within. It's not a matter of can we close them on subject to or wholesale or seller care. It's not a matter of any of that. You have to know, do they want to sell? Is there a timeline? Is there motivation? And then the second is that information.
So Brandon Arter, as you guys can see, he's the one that I posted his question on here. Brandon Arter works on our team. He runs our concierge department, and concierge department's all about getting you guys what you need. So if you guys need something, that's what Brandon and Hayel do for us in our business. They just help. Loan type is important, CPG, because if somebody tells me they have an amazing cash flowing property, but it turns out to be a reverse mortgage, you can't do reverse mortgages. And if it turns out to be a hard money loan, no shit. We went like 6 months ago. Anna sends me this appointment. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's this amazing appointment. Cash flows like $500 a month. Can you, guys, it says motivated, PITI, rent, type of loan, rate. Those are the things that we really want to know. I want to know they're motivated because anyway, so let me touch base on the deal with Anna real quick. So Anna says to me this thing. She goes, hey, I got this amazing lead. It's going to be so good for you. And I'm like, all right, great. So I get to the appointment. I'm like, damn, this is a pretty good, this guy's like desperate to like offload this property. Like he wants to offload this property. Turns out the reason being is it was an interest only loan at 10%. So you want to stay away from those. That means type of loan. Stay away from interest only loans. Stay away from, the other type of loan. Here's the loans that you want to stay away from, guys. You want to stay from interest only. You want to stay away from reverse mortgages. And you want to stay away from people who are doing them like a shit ton in 2006, 2007, 2008. What are they? Adjustable. So loans that are adjustable, you do not want to do those loans. Do not subject to interest only loans. Do not subject to reverse mortgages, and do not subject to adjustable rate mortgages. You do not want that. So anyway, so Brandon, awesome dude, works on our team, runs our concierge department. A lot of times people ask, hey, will you help me talk to my sellers for me? And we go, yeah, hell yeah. And then we'll get on the phone with their seller and they never even brought up they want us to explain subject to their seller for the first time. Turns out they never asked the seller what their PITI is, the rent, type of loan, none of that stuff. And then we get into these 5-minute conversations that we could be doing something else. And it turns out it wasn't a deal ever. And so when you guys want us to help work on those deals, just make sure that your seller's motivated and willing to have the conversation. Then you've got already asked the PITI, the rent, the type of loan, and the rate. If you guys want to learn how to talk to sellers, I would tune into our Facebook group on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Brandon Arter, Hayel, Tino, Jeff, Nick, and Joel, our whole team, we cold call in the mornings and we record it most of the time because I'm not traveling right now with Jamil like I usually am. Most of the time it's me on the phone doing sales training, calling my sales team's lead. So if you guys get on the phone or get on Wholesale Hotline or on this Facebook group, you'll see that. Blake Soriano, would you consider a sub-2 with high interest rate and plan to refi for additional cash flow? Personally, Blake, no, I would not. And this is why. Cody and I currently stand in a stream full of fish that are very large, very juicy, and very easy to catch. So, for example, most of the deals we're getting right now are under 3.5%, or they are 0% seller financing. That's it. Jonathan Mark, do I have a minimum cash flow? This is a very, very good question I get all the time. Blake, so anyway, hopefully that answers your question. Would I consider a deal high interest rate? I think when I first started out, as long as it cash flowed, the answer was yes. Now, because we have so many opportunities and we understand how to do what we're going to do today, we're going to show you guys how to pull a list. We've got a list, the number one list that we pull, and I love, like when Cody tells me he's going to pull this brand new list, the hairs on the back of my head stand up. I get so excited. It's the high equity manufactured housing list. So we love that list. Anyway, so hopefully that answers your question, Blake. We just have way too many opportunities. We wouldn't take anything high interest anymore. In fact, If somebody sends me a deal at 3.75, I'm like, not a deal. Not because it's not a deal for you, but it's because we have such a good way to get 3.5 or lower, or a lot of seller financed at 0%. Don't be Joshua Sina. I'm going to call your ass out because you should be embarrassed about being embarrassed. No shit, bro. Don't ever be embarrassed to ask that question. PITI, super important. I'm so glad you asked that. We do go over this a lot, and I apologize that I skimmed over it. What PITI means, so people that are just listening, it basically is the total all-in payment, okay? It's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So when you make a mortgage payment, so I'm in my home studio right now, I have a payment that every month for $1,950 a month. My principal balance, or my principal payment is $750. So 750 of that pays down on my mortgage. The other $1,250 is interest, taxes, and insurance all included. So when I make my mortgage payment, it's not just interest and principal, it's actually principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And the reason why we spell it out in that acronym is because there's a lot of times when people will go to appointments, or I'll go to appointments and I'll ask a seller what their payment is, and they go, oh, it's $600. I'm like, damn, this is like a juicy boy. This thing is going to be a great cash flower. And then I look at their mortgage statement. I'm like, oh, it's only PI. It's only principal and interest. It doesn't have your taxes and insurance included. And then also, guys, when you are buying seller finance, so like Cody, the house on Windsor that we're taking over. No, not Windsor, 78th.
Yep.
Right? That house on 78th, I think we're closing this week, and like our total out of pocket's like $5,000 to $2,500 to the seller. And 25
$5,000 to the seller, $5,000 to the wholesaler.
Got it. So that deal is a 0% finance deal, right? So the seller originally, by the way, guys, that one is a recorded conversation in the Facebook group. When you guys look that up, it's a Apache Junction 0% finance deal. You'll hear the seller ask me, yeah, I would sell this to you on seller financing, but I want $20,000 down and I want 8% interest. We ended up getting them for $5,000 down, 0% interest. So if you want to hear how to have that conversation with sellers, I'm not one of these guys that's like, yeah, go read my scripts. There is no script, guys. It's in a recorded conversation. Just memorize what I say, how I overcome things with sellers. Yeah, it is a good one. I got the seller, Mark. I'm sure you saw. I'm sure you saw how I went from getting the seller to 8% to 0%, and how I got them from 5 to 10, or from 20,000 down to 5. But guys, we record most of our closings. Like the one I did on Sunday was so good, so good. I went through with the seller and I went through all the questions. I was like, Mr. Seller, can I tell you the 5 questions you actually haven't asked me that you should have asked me? Like, I will go through everything with these sellers. Disclose, as our buddy Rylas Dana, the probate attorney, says. Make sure you're disclosing everything. Gary, as you can tell, I am in my element. I am pumped. I talk to you guys about to give you guys information and help you guys out where we can. So a couple of questions. Note buyer. How do I find a note buyer for my subject to? Eric Sage is a note buyer. I don't know if you're actually specifically asking for a note buyer, or if you're just looking to find a buyer for your subject to, and we can help you out with that. Brandon Arter, we can help you guys find all that stuff out. Reach out to Brandon Arter on our team. How long do you spend explaining due on sale? Have you ever had any issues? Yeah, we actually are currently in a due on sale clause situation, and our attorney is fighting it for us. So we're not worried about it. But yes, you can get due on sale clause assurance, and then our attorneys will essentially fight that for you. But yeah, I go through the due on sale clause a good amount of time. And then I also have a due on sale clause addendum that they specifically sign, and I go through that. You'll hear that in my recordings as well, is that I take a due on sale clause addendum showing them, no, it's not an addendum, it's more of an acknowledgement. It's a due on sale clause acknowledgement. So there's a purchase contract, then there's a subject to addendum letting everybody know it's a subject to and all the terms of the subject to. And then there's another document called a due on sale clause acknowledgement, where they acknowledge that there's a due on sale clause. So this is a good point. Okay. So a lot of people ask us, guys, look at the screen. Hayel on our team, she's making a really good point. If you guys want some documents, or if you guys want some help with transactional stuff, recognize that Rochelle gets paid by our company, and don't treat her like she's your employee. I have had people just be complete jerks to her. but she can help you guys out with due on sale clause assurance. Basically, it costs about 1.25% of the interest or of the total purchase price of the house, and we'll guarantee your house against the due on sale clause. Great content, Gary, dude, thank you. I'm going to put this on the screen. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate you doing that. Guys, if you're getting any value out of this, please share in your group or put it somewhere in maybe one of your investment groups that you guys are part of. Let's try and get this over 200 views. When we were doing this 6-7 weeks ago, we were getting 500 people watching this. So we lost a lot of our viewership because our studio slowed down a little bit. So help us out. No, you can't find the total PITI HOA and all on PropStream. Cody, you can get a general understanding of where they're at on this stuff. Cody, if I told you, hey, the seller won't give me this information, you're in front of the computer, I'm out in the field in my Prius, can you get me this information? What would you say to me?
I would say, dude, I can't get you the information. You can look on you could look on tax records and find some of the information, but the thing is, you're not going to have the most updated information unless you're getting it direct from the seller. They might have refinanced the property. They might have changed the loans that they had in place on the property. You can find out around what their loan was when they got it, and then you could try to do math, but you really don't know unless you actually get it direct from the seller, from their statement. That's going to be the best way.
Love it. So guys, Connor Patton asked a question. Pace, what is your go-to line when explaining to the seller that you may wholesale their property, and how do you navigate bringing other investors through the property? Guys, that's really easy. I just tell them the truth. I tell them that that's typically my answer. I just tell everybody the truth. Here's the answer. I tell them, hey, you know what? We buy a lot of properties. In fact, we'll sometimes buy 5 to 10 properties in a given week. And depending on how many houses I buy, I might choose to do different strategies on them depending on how much flow I have coming to our company. So I might end up wholesaling one. I might end up bringing a financial partner on the deal, meaning an investor. I might even end up flipping the house, or renting the property out, depending on what we want to do. And I just want to let you know that I'm gonna need access to the property. In fact, Tino, the first contract Tino ever signed with our company, Tino watches me sign the purchase contract, and then watches me right after the purchase contract. I go through and I spent 4 minutes. He was like, bro, that was like eternity for me watching you do this. But I spent 4 minutes hammering home that we need access to the property, and we're going to bring contractors, we're going to bring lenders. And what I tell them, just because sometimes I've had this issue happen where we have a bunch of buyers come to the property, and the seller will ask one of our cash buyers, hey, how long you've been working with Pace? And the cash buyer will be like, I don't know who Pace is. Like literally straight up, they'll say that. So I've learned from years of experience. I just tell the cash buyers, I go, hey, or not the cash buyers, I say, hey, seller, I'm going to have people that I've never met come through your property. And the reason why I've never met them is because I'm part of an group of people who are constantly looking to do joint ventures on properties. So we send out a mass email. Those people will reply back. And sometimes people that are replying back are part of that network. They're definitely vetted human beings. They're vetted business people. But the world's so big, I might not have ever met them before. So you're going to meet people that might not know my name. Are you okay with that? And I said all this in front of Tino, and Tino's like, man, you just like took all the anxiety, all the stress, all the issues off the table right out of the gate. Guys, that's what this is all about. Like sleeping at night and making your lives easy. Holy moly, we're getting a ton of questions here. When will you do a video on private money? Bro, I do so many videos on private money. I will do another one. We'll make next week's Sunday service all about raising private capital. In fact, one of my favorite people, Rita, one of our investors, has been texting me all day today. We will do an entire live next Sunday service. We will do it. Hey guys, we hit 200 people. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us when you guys get 200. We get at least multiple double figures over that counter. We'd like to get back to 500, but obviously it's going to take us probably a couple months to do that. But thank you so much for sharing with your friends. But yeah, Brutus, we will absolutely do a cash raise conversation, and we will do that all next Sunday. Okay, so Sean Foster, let's see, Guys, thank you so much. Like, this is why we do this, is just honestly, I do this for emotional income. It makes me feel good that we spent years and years, thousands and thousands of dollars going through trials and tribulations. I mean, currently going through what we're going through, evicting tenants, dealing with crap. I'm so grateful that all the things we've learned are things that now we can articulate back to you and help you in your journey, cut that learning curve down. So obviously, we're not asking for money for any of this. We're just asking for sometimes a little pat on the back. And if you guys are ever here in Phoenix, just buy me and Cody some sushi. Adrian Lamas, thanks for sharing. So, dude, absolutely. Which seller type would you say is best candidate for subject to, a landlord or owner occupied property? Landlord all day long. Landlord is going to be a way better fit for selling any property, wholesale or otherwise, just because they have more pain typically. They're dealing with a lot more crap. Ooh, this is a long one. Let's jump on this one. This is Charles from HBHS in San Antonio. We do a lot of sub-twos last 6 years. One thing we found, people don't know this, on FHA modifications, new investors have to be careful when taking on subject twos. There's a dormant HUD loan. Yep, absolutely. On pre-crash 80-20 conventional loans, you have to be careful. Yes, absolutely, guys. Make sure you're pulling your title reports properly, and you're talking to somebody that has done a lot of subject twos before you commit to stuff and get into things you don't know about. But great point. Daryl Banks, you always have good questions. I want to find out what your actual question was. I have a seller in Texas, 5-bed, 3-bath, $70K on mortgage, ARV 200 PITI. Bro, easy. Here's what you do if you're in Texas. Their courthouses are still open. Why not just recently updated and we'll leave brand new furniture? Why not get them under a contract? That sounds amazing. It sounds like there's a big old spread there. Why not get them under contract? Jonathan Mark, do you have maximums for arrears, repairs, seller cash? No, we don't. Right now we do, because of the coronavirus scare. We are telling people that we want to be all into deals between $10,000 and $20,000 max. That includes, you guys know what the entry fee is? Does anybody want to know what the actual entry fee to a deal is? Nobody talks about this, dude. Like, I'm reading all sorts of other people's books right now because I'm in the middle of writing my own book, or our team is in the middle of writing a book, and I'm reading everybody else's books, and nobody actually talks about a true entry fee. It's amazing when you actually start buying properties, you start realizing the people who write books don't tell you everything you need to know about this business, because I don't know if maybe just it takes a lot to write. I don't know, but we'll go through. Guys, if you guys want to know what an entry fee is, let me know and I'll actually break it down on the whiteboard for you. Yes, guys, if you guys need help with us helping you sell anything, wholesale or subject to, Hyel and Brandon, they run that department. Just let us know if you guys need help on anything. So anyway, without much further ado, I'm going to jump into what an entry fee is, and then we're going to have Cody go into pulling a list on property or PropStream. And also, are you going to do list source or just PropStream today, Cody?
Just PropStream. I was gonna do just like a quick basic comp and then do a basic list, just for people that are brand new, never pulled a list, never seen a comp done. Just both of those real quick.
Okay, cool. So this is honestly one of the most important things you can ever learn when you're buying subject to, seller finance or otherwise, is actual cost of a deal. And so many people do not understand the entry fee on a deal. They just simply don't. So I'll go through this with you guys, because we get people that send us deals. And when they send us deals, they're like, oh, hey, the total cost to get in this deal is like $7,000. And I'm like, but the way I look at it is it looks like it's about $47,000. And it's just because they are not versed in it. So let me verse you guys real quick. So here are the entry fees to a deal. Number one, cash to the seller. Okay, so that is cash to the seller. So many people think that it's okay to send me an email, or Cody an email, or anybody on our team an email and say, cost to get into this deal is $5,000 to the seller, $5,000 to me. Total cost $10,000 of the deal. I'm like, really? Like, that's all it's going to cost to get into that deal? So I don't have to pay for closing costs, and I don't have to pay for renovations. I don't have to pay for a month of mortgage and utilities and all that stuff while I'm waiting for somebody to come and rent the property. Like, I don't have to pay for any of that stuff. That's amazing. You're going to pay for that stuff out of your $5,000 fee? Guys, when you're sending somebody a deal, make sure your entry fee is an entire entry fee. So cash to the seller is very important. But what's another thing that Jonathan pops up on here is arrears, right? So arrears and liens. For those of you who do not know what an arrear is, typical arrear is they're behind on their mortgage payments. So foreclosure fees, legal fees, all that kind of stuff. A lot of times HOA, I'm closing on one myself. This is one Cody's not involved in because this is one I've been working on for 3 years. I'm making like 100 grand on this bad boy, or at least I was a month ago. We'll see what happens.
Maybe making 50, or you may be making 120.
I might make $120 on it. I don't know. But anyway, what I did is I actually, just so you guys want to hear a dope ass story? Here's a dope ass story. So I have been working this deal on 13th Avenue in Sunny Slope for 3 years. Okay. I get the house under contract. You guys, a lot of people have seen this on my Instagram TV stuff, but I get this house under contract and I send it to somebody to help me sell it. What that guy does is he goes around me, knocks on the door with the seller, and offers $5,000 extra to the seller to cancel the contract with me. He then coaches her on how to try and work around me and find holes and issues with my purchase contract so that she can legitimately and legally cancel the purchase contract with me, okay? So because in Arizona, real estate contracts are very, very strong. If you sign a real estate contract, you are going to court. You are not getting out of that deal. Cody and I have had multiple sellers coached. What was the last one we did where the guy wanted an extra, he wanted to cancel and then I got him to just take an extra $3 grand and we move forward?
That was a Chandler condo. Yeah.
So anyway, so this deal 3 years ago, I get a letter from title. Title says, hey, this seller is canceling on you. Her name is April. Nobody even knows her last name or anything else, but her name's April. And, she sent a cancellation letter and I'm like, okay, send me the letter. She sends it over. It's highly articulate, like incredibly well written, crazy, crazy well written. And very, very long story short, I'm going to cut this down because we only have so much time. We end up finding out that the guy who sold it, like told me, hey, I'll buy this deal from you and I'll sell it out and we'll split the profits. He's the guy that went and coached her along trying to steal the deal from me because it had like $30,000, $40,000 on it at the time. So not only did he lose his real estate license and a whole bunch of crap happened to him because he's a piece of junk, but what happened is I ended up litigating and actually taking this lady to court. She couldn't defend herself, so she had to get a public defender. The public defender basically helped me in a lot of ways just get to a point where we reduced the purchase price $25,000. She had to take all my attorney's fees off of the purchase price. I ended up getting the deal for like 40 grand lower than I originally had it contracted. And I felt so bad because she basically got manipulated by this other guy that I let her live in the house for 3 years. So that 3 years is now coming up. Okay. So here we are now. She comes to me and she says, hey, I know that my 3 years is up and you've got to close escrow on this deal. Basically, all that's left on it after the fact that I haven't paid my HOA and I haven't paid all this other stuff, I'm not going to really have any mind letting me live in the property. So the coronavirus has changed our market considerably. So I originally was going to be able to wholesale this or fix and flip it. If I fixed and flipped it, I probably would have made 120. I could have wholesaled it and made 100. But in the midst of all this, I said, you know what, April, I'll let you stay in the property for another 3 or 4 months while I figure out what's going on with the market. But I now don't want to close escrow on your house with my own money. I will buy your property from you subject to. So now I'm converting a 3-year wholesale contract into a subject to. That's what's amazing about creative financing is I can adjust and I can do things that other people couldn't. Somebody else would have had to close on this deal and lose out on a lot of profit. What I'll do is I'll take it down subject to. I'll rent it out for probably 6 to 12 months while the market comes back. And I'll make sure that I make my 100K. Like I'm mentally committed to 100 grand. I'm not going to sell that house without making sure it's at 100K. So anyway, part of the conversation that a lot of people leave out is now we have cash to acquisition. So if you're a scaled operation like us, we have salespeople and those salespeople need to get paid. We have lead flow. We have cost to get into that deal. So there's a very, very important part of all this, which is cash to acquisition. Okay. A lot of people don't consider that as part of the deal. Or if you send me a deal and I pay you $5,000 for that deal, that means that's an assignment fee. That's my cost of acquisition from you. So if somebody sends us a deal, which we buy a lot of deals from other wholesalers, we'll pay your assignment fee. That's my cost to get into that deal. Now I've committed to that deal, guys. What do I have to do? I have to close escrow on that deal. So now I've got closing costs. Right? So I've got closing costs, which typically, depending on where you are and what state you're in, we always pay for title insurance, which right now we've got a title claim that, what do you think that's going to pay us out? We've got a claim that's like $290. We'll probably end up getting $175,000 on that title claim, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, conservative 150, 170, hopefully soon.
Right. So I get people that are like, why do you pay for title policies? It's a scam. I'm like, I'll give you 150,000 reasons why. We have one claim that's going to pay for basically 5 years of insurance policy. So my personal opinion is that we pay for closing costs. And when we do that, we always get title insurance. It is incredibly critical for at least us. Other people will not, but for us, it's very important. So closing costs. Now I own the property. What do we got to do now to rent that bad boy out? We have to renovate. So in order for me to actually rent that property out, I have to renovate. It's so funny. People are like, oh yeah, I do lease options all the time. I put $500 into them. Like, okay, so your properties sit for 3 months until you find somebody. Guys, we've never put in less than $3,500. As much as we say, oh, it's ready to go. It's ready to go. There's always something. Okay. So that's the initial thing. Paint, carpet. We had that property on, what was it? Mercury or Walnut? What was that one? The one down south and like almost
Walnut.
And I went down there and the weeds were like growing up and I was like, bro, we got to have landscape maintenance on that. Anyway, we put that property on the market because we thought, oh, it's a brand new house. There's going to be no issues with it. So we put it on the market. We didn't really spend any money. We lost a month of us having to pay the mortgage. And then we had to go back and do carpet and paint, which cost us probably $5,000 or $6,000. So my feeling is that every house should just be freshly painted and freshly carpeted in the very least. That's my personal opinion. Everybody that's trying to sell you something is going to tell you something otherwise. So you got to renovate the property. Typical cost is about $3,500. And then you've got your miscellaneous and your marketing. Okay, so here's the last two, and I'll go through these real quick because we got a whole bunch of stuff to cover today. So miscellaneous, guys. What is miscellaneous? If I buy a property from a seller subject to, and I go through a few weeks of renovating it, cleaning it up, landscape, trashing it out, carpet paint, whatever, guess what I'm responsible for now that I own that property? I'm responsible for a payment. So you have to consider that as part of your entry fee. You have to have a month or 2 months worth of payments that build into your entry fee so that you're not standing there on the first month you own it saying, oh crap, I have a mortgage payment and I have an empty house. Duh, of course you do. So you not only have a mortgage payment, but you also have insurance, taxes, landscape maintenance, pool maintenance, utilities for the lights and the water that has to turn on while you're. We used to have a full-time guy, Zach Babiars, who is in our Facebook group. He's an awesome guy. We'd spend $1,000 average finding a lease option buyer in our property. So that's the total entry fee. Okay. So it's usually what we're doing now. So this is the answer. We've done deals where we've put $170,000 into the deal. The house on Wilson is going to be a total cost of $170,000 between arrears, repairs, cash to the seller, closing costs, cash to the wholesaler. It's going to be $170,000 in cash, not purchase price, but in cash. But that deal is going to make us a lot of money. It's a multifamily. Okay. So it depends on the deal and depends on how you're exiting that deal. Then we have other deals right now where we're telling people we want to be maximum entry fee between $10,000 and $20,000. And everything on our docket to close right now is between that $10,000 to $20,000. So right now, Jonathan, because the market has changed, we have changed our acquisition strategies. Hopefully that makes sense. I could answer questions all night, dude. I love this. I don't know if anybody even gets any value out of this or not. Let's see here. All right, we got question after question after question after question. I don't hear anybody use the phrase close escrow. What does that mean? Does that mean anything in particular, or is it same as anyone close on a property? So yeah, close. Let me tell you what escrow is, guys. That's a really, really basic question. I do like that question. So sorry, Marcus Foster just told me he's an agent by saying Marcus Foster, realtor. I'm so sorry. I do pick on real estate agents, but typically the real estate agents I pick on are not coming into these Facebook Lives. Okay, they're not trying to learn anything. They're not trying to do anything. So guys, I apologize if you're a real estate agent. Cody, my partner, is a real estate agent. My wife is a real estate agent. I adore real estate agents that actually want to learn and grow. So CPG asks, what is escrow? So escrow, let's break escrow down really quickly. It's the start of when I go down to the title company, I tell the title company, hey, I'm buying this property, and I show them the purchase contract. That's the beginning of the transaction. That's when I open escrow. Okay, the beginning of the transaction is opening escrow, and the end of the transaction is called closing escrow. So that whole period between opening and closing escrow is called escrow. Okay, so when you close escrow, that means the transaction's done, everybody's got their money and moved on. Cody, do you want to talk for a little bit and jump on screen share, and let's talk about PropStream, and let me just make sure.
Yeah, just as far as time, do you want me to do pull list and do a comp, or do you want me to?
Our show, man. Nobody's pushing us to freaking end this shit. I know your girlfriend doesn't care how long you work tonight. Let's go. Are you asking me how long to take?
Yeah, just like what you wanted to do.
I know that I talk a lot, and I apologize, but what I would want, Cody, is I would want you to ask questions to people as you're going through PropStream, or if
you're gonna have to tell me, because when I'm on that screen, I won't be able to see the questions they're asking.
Oh shit! All right, I'll do that. No problem. Let me pull up the PropStream code for anybody, because guys, the owner of PropStream, personal friend, good guy, he gave us a PropStream free trial. So give me just a second, and I'll post that so that anybody that wants to like follow along with Cody on how to pull lists will actually be able to do that. Hold on just a sec. So Cody, where do we pull our lists from typically? We'll use PropStream, we use ListSource. Where else are we pulling lists from?
I mean, that's really it. ListSource and PropStream. It has everything we need.
Got it. Okay, cool. And what list do you think I like more than any other list?
High equity mobile homes.
High equity mobile homes. Why do we like mobile homes so much?
I mean, it's affordable housing is the first thing that always comes to mind for me. Is it's, affordable housing where the end consumer, there's going to be the biggest pool of buyers for that type of product. And a lot of people don't understand how to value mobile homes, and a lot of people don't understand how the financing works on them. So it's more of a barrier to entry to other investors. So we like them because you can make, great money on them, and you're servicing, the biggest need, which is people that need affordable housing.
Yeah. Cody, have you ever used PropStream? Or not PropStream, but have you ever used
I've used
Property Radar.
Property Radar. That was the first system I ever used to pull, and that only works, guys. Sorry if you're in other parts of the country, but Property Radar only works in a few of the states on the West Coast. But yeah, I use Property Radar. I would pull pre-foreclosures from it. So it's a good tool, but it doesn't have as much as like a PropStream does.
Yeah, guys, the other thing about PropStream, why we like using PropStream, is because we do buy deals nationwide. Right now, we're on a buying hiatus for obvious reasons, but we do buy deals all over. We were buying in like 15 markets. And when you're trying to comp in 15 different markets and trying to ask for access to the MLS in 15 different markets, we found that PropStream was the best. Like, there's certain things that are challenging about PropStream that, MLS is always going to be triumphant over that. But we can't have access to the MLS in 15 different markets as easily as you might think, right? No offense to real estate agents, but getting access to an MLS is like, so sorry, but at the end of the day, sometimes that's the only value a real estate agent can bring to the table. And so when you take that value from them, it's like they get very, very they want to control the access to the MLS. And so we find that it's really hard to get access to 15 different markets, or let alone 50 different states worth of MLS. So PropStream is just way easier. I think we spend like $100 a month on it or something like that. So it's incredibly valuable. Every time I walk in behind Hyel, Brandon, and our team, they're utilizing PropStream on deals that are nationwide. And then when we're doing deals inside of Arizona, we're just using the MLS because obviously Cody, my wife, and other people in our office are all licensed.
Can you see my screen?
I sure can.
All right, so let's do our favorite. We could do our favorite list here. So this is obviously, guys, if you're in Arizona, you know, that's where we're searching right now. Apache Junction is a part of town here that has a lot of mobile homes. So basically what I'm going to do when you get logged into PropStream, this is what you're going to be looking at here. So this is the main home screen. So I'm going to take a look at Apache Junction. So here we go. So this is pretty cool as it actually pulls up. So there's 180 properties on the MLS right now in Apache Junction, 25 in pre-foreclosure, 25 up for auction, blah, blah, blah. So, you could actually find the vacants. So say if I wanted to narrow this list down, because obviously this is, pulling up a bigger list, we could actually do some filters here. So let's say that we just want vacant properties. So let's close that. That's going to update it there. And then if we want to, say if you want to go to a certain area, say, because obviously every area of town has different pockets, right? So that certain areas are a little bit more hot for deals than others. So maybe I'm looking at this area here and I'm like, okay, I want to actually pull a list of properties in this square. Oops. So I usually do this on my
dual monitor setup.
Yeah, and I'm not doing this on my little freaking laptop here.
So while Cody's kind of working through this, guys, real quick, just so you know, we have a new app coming out. It's basically it's a door knocking app that is a team building app. It's kind of like Pokemon Go for wholesaling. So you can drive for dollars virtually. You can drive for dollars in real time. It's basically everything that you can imagine with driving for dollars, except we add a whole bunch of amazing features to it for people that are actually door knocking. You can text message, you can call, you can do the direct mail, you can do all the things that you could ever do inside of the other apps you guys have heard about. The difference is we're helping you guys build a team. You can track your team, you can route your team and tell them where to go. We don't drive for dollars in our company. What we do specifically is we target for dollars. Okay, here's the difference. Let's say that I have 1,800 pre-foreclosures in Arizona, which we do. We go and pick out 20 or 30 of those in a day, and we'll go drive those very specifically, target those 20 or 30. Somebody on our team the app will direct them where to go, what to say, everything about that property. And in between each of those properties that they've already been pre-routed for, they then will drive for a lot of the area that Cody's focusing on right now, which is Apache Junction. Like there's a couple of square miles in here where I can't throw a rock from I can throw rocks from like one house to hit another house that we own, and then from that house hit another house we own, and from that house hit another house we own. We love this area in Apache Junction. Great cash flow. Sellers typically have a lot of pain and low, basically low barrier of entry for a buyer, right? So affordability. So it's easy for us to sell it on the back end. It's easy for us to find lease options. It's easy for us to find wholesalers. It's easy to find for us, not wholesalers, but easy for us to find cash buyers on a wholesale. And it's very, very easy for us to find wrap buyers, which is another thing we could go into another day.
Definitely. So I'm just going to do a simple list here. So I just selected in Apache Junction these 25 pre-foreclosures. And then what I'm going to do is say you want to go ahead and get this list skip traced. All you're going to do is select those properties. These are all pre-foreclosures. I'm going to go ahead and save that search. Say pre-foreclosures, Apache Junction. Add to list. Oops.
Hey, Tristan, I can see all the comments. I just can't keep up with them, unfortunately. There's a lot of comments, so I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I can see all the comments. If I take a minute and shut my mouth, I love how people are like telling you what to do on PropStream. It's amazing.
I can't see it, guys. Sorry. But yeah, so literally that's as easy. Like I just did a very simple list. Obviously, you can break it down and get a lot more. You can get into the filters and narrow in exactly on what you're looking for. But all I did was select those pre-foreclosures. These are 25 pre-foreclosures in Apache Junction. And then what you can do is literally you can take them from here, export it right into an Excel sheet, and go to batch skip tracing, import that list, and have that list skip traced right away. So this is literally one of the easiest systems to be able to pull your list from and actually be able to narrow in on different parts of town. So you're actually pulling data from the areas that you're specifically wanting that data from. So that's as simple as it is on just pulling a list off of PropStream.
Love it. So a couple questions in here. Melanie Johnson, by the way, on February 21st, she emailed me a Starbucks gift card for my birthday, and I gobbled that shit up so fast. Melanie, you're amazing. You are awesome. Her question is on the screen. It says, Pace, if I have MLS, do I need PropStream? No. The only reason you would really need PropStream is if you are trying to, well, there's a couple things. If you want to invest outside of this area that you have MLS access, then yes, PropStream is incredibly valuable. I think it's the best outside of the MLS, personally. There's pluses and minuses of it, but there's pluses and minuses of all software that we've ever used. And I would just say that at the end of the day, PropStream has the least negatives and the most positives. So MLS is always the freshest, cleanest data, but we can't easily access the MLS in other markets we're investing in super, super easy. So Melanie, I know you invest in Arizona and you're doing deals, especially you're a real estate agent in Arizona. I would suggest not worrying about PropStream here in Arizona. Mike Gomez, good question. What apps do you use when driving for dollars with targeted properties? We don't use anybody's app. We built our own because all the apps that are out there are basically, if you took all the 10 apps that are out there for driving for dollars or door knocking apps, you put all those together and you make one app. That's basically the app that we have been working on the last 6 months. So we stopped using everybody else's apps. It's just not a total deal. And our app comes out on May 1st. So we currently have 30 people that are testing right now. So I don't need any more testers. But when it comes out, I'll give you guys all access to it. It's amazing. So one set of data that it gives you world or nationwide right out of the gate. So when you download the app will give you all the pre-foreclosure data updated every single day nationwide. So I can go drive for dollars virtually through my app in New York, even though I live in Arizona. And I think our fee, like we're starting out at $49 a month. Like it is stupid value. It is absolutely stupid value. So what we like it for is it's all about the people, it tracks them, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty amazing. Are you using ListSource for your data as well? I would say that's probably 80% of where you pull our data from, Cody, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like PropStream is great for pulling and actually being super targeted on the list that you're going to be pulling, because you could actually zoom in on the map and choose down to specific square miles of or specific neighborhoods, and you could find people that are in pre-foreclosure in specific neighborhoods or vacant properties in a certain city that you're looking at. So where ListSource is great, the functionality of having the actual map on here, because ListSource doesn't have a map feature. So you could actually go on the map on PropStream and be able to select and target in on areas, especially if you're brand new and you don't have a big advertising budget. You can narrow in on the areas where there's investors that are buying properties, and that you can pull just specifically to that area, keeping your costs down, skip trace to that area, and work in those higher turnover type areas in your city.
Love it. Here, let me guess that Joshua Sina, if you have to point out to me that it's in not a flood zone, comment on the screen, by the way. I have a house under contract, mobile home, not in a flood zone. That would mean that you are in Houston. Every time somebody sends us a deal in Houston, we have to double check the FEMA website, see if it. Oh no, Josh, I know Josh. Josh is a TTP alumni from Brent's program. Approximately $70,000 below ARV. Could you help me with some different possible strategies other than strategies buyer has to have cash? Yeah, we can help you out with that. Let's chat tomorrow. I'll be in the office at 9. Typically, I'm up at 3 a.m. answering questions, a private Facebook group. And then I spend time with the kids for a couple hours, and then I head to the office. So let's touch base when I get to the office tomorrow. Cody, here's a question for you. Can you share more of your favorite lists to pull and why you like them?
Yeah, so I would say if I had to say my top favorite list, one would be pre-foreclosures, which I mean I know it seems just so simple, but they're in they have the highest level of pain. And what is investing in real estate about? It's about getting into a deal at the right price or on the right terms. And what better individual to be getting into a deal with than somebody that is, has a lot of pain. Obviously, pre-foreclosures, there's a financial distress occurring where you can go in, solve their problem, and be able to get terms or a good price on that deal. So pre-foreclosures, I would say, is number one, but there's not enough. If we could only target pre-foreclosures, we would, but there's only 1,800. We'd run out of marketing within like 20 minutes in the day. So we like pre-foreclosures. We like vacant, high equity, absentee. And then specifically 2 other lists that we really like are mobile homes, high equity mobile homes, owner occupant, and absentee. And then we also, one of my favorite lists is the condo list. Condos under 200,000 ARV is one of my other favorite lists because they're great for us to be able to flip. And then they're also great for us to be able to wholesale. They're just easy deals. Once, if you get them at the right price, it's a pretty easy deal. So pre-foreclosures, high equity, absentee, mobile homes, owner occupied, or absentee, and then condos under 200,000. So the biggest thing is understanding your market here in Arizona. We only target lists of data that are $300,000 and below on the ARV, so that we're focusing within the masses. We want to be working with properties that the average consumer that has a job or family that has 2 working people in their home are going to be able to afford that property. So that's the price point that we like to stay in as well. So we aren't pulling lists of $1 million properties. That's not what we're doing. We want to work where there's a lot of buyers on that we could sell to fix and flippers, and we want to be able to sell properties where actual end consumers are at a high demand.
Great answer. So I'm going to answer a couple creative finance questions. I just got one I really like because a lot of people think that you have to have money. So Cody and I just got a subject to deal on Sunday. We get probably 2 or 3 a week. We got a subject to deal on Sunday that the total cost to get into the deal is $7,000. So let me break that down for you because I already walked through the cost to get into a deal. So let's crank through that real quick, and then I'll tell you how it's not going to cost us any money to get into it. So we've got cash to the seller. The cash to the seller on this deal is $3,000. The arrears are $0. So the seller's getting $3,000. They don't owe any back payments. They don't have anything. The cost of acquisition, we have a wholesaler who actually brought this deal to us. He's a good friend of us. So we're paying him $2,000. Okay. Closing costs, $2,000. Okay. Pretty amazing. I'm already at $7,000 and I just barely closed escrow on the property. How am I all in at $7,000? Cody and I have already sold this property to a wrap buyer. Okay. So she has a really good question. Let me jump on this real quick. I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but Niak Prater, I'm so sorry if I pronounce that wrong, But you said, if my first deal happens to be subject to, where would I begin to get the funds? I'm going to tell you 3 ways that you don't have to come up with money on your first deal. Okay. So this is a deal that Cody and I got. It's a subject to. Seller has no equity, and Cody and I will end up making $13,000 up front and then probably $500 a month on cash flow. And we will truly have $0 out of pocket. Here's how we're going to do that. So the seller is going to get $3,000 when we close escrow. The arrears, there are none. The cash to the seller, or cash to the guy who brought us the deal, $2,000. Closing costs, $2,000. So we're going to close escrow on that. Renovate, miscellaneous, and marketing. I don't have to worry about any of these other ones because we've already sold this on a wrap. So what is a wrap? A wrap means that we've sold the property. So sorry for the movement on this. The wrap means that I've bought the house subject to, and I've sold it to a buyer, and I've financed him. So I'm the bank, right? So I took somebody else's loan. So it's kind of like this. Let's say that Paul comes to me and he says, hey, Pace, I want a F-150 for $10,000. And I find Cody has an F-150 that he'll sell to me for $5,000. I could easily go to Cody and give him $5,000, take that and sell it to somebody for $10,000, but I don't have $5,000. So how do I make the spread between the two? This is how you do it. You set up the close of escrow, so you get a contract between the guy who wants it for 10. You're essentially wholesaling it, but here's the difference. This is the difference between wholesaling it and a wrap. I can get Cody's contract to me for $5,000 and then turn around and assign it to the other guy for an extra $5,000, which would be $10,000 total. But that doesn't give me cash flow. So this is how I do that. Cody gives me, I go to Cody, I go, hey man, I don't have $5,000. Will you do $200 down and $200 a month until it's paid off at 0% interest? Cody says, yeah, I'll do that. But give me $5,500 and I'll do it. No problem, great. So I contract Cody at $5,500, some money down, 0% interest. I then go to Paul and I say, hey Paul, I've got this truck. I can sell it to you for $10,500, but you need to give me $5,000 down, and then you can make $300 monthly payments at 3 or 4% interest. So that interest that I'm now charging Paul, I'm the bank. I'm lending Cody's financing to Paul. That essentially is a wrap. So I am taking somebody else's loan that they're giving to me, and I'm charging somebody else at a higher interest rate. It's also a fancy word. It would be arbitrage. So I'm wrapping it. So on this deal, Cody and I have found a buyer that will pay us $20,000 down, and they will close escrow on the day that the seller wants to close escrow. So do I need to come up with that $7,000? No. In fact, our buyer, the guy who's paying, coming in and we're selling the financing to, he's coming in with $20,000, which would pay for closing costs, cash to the wholesaler who brought the deal to us, $3,000 to cash the seller. We keep $13,000 in our pocket. And then on top of that, we will make probably a $400 or $500 monthly cash flow on that property. That is a deal that had no equity. That's the cool thing about this, is that the deal had no equity. Literally, the seller bought that property. When they buy it, they bought it like June of last year, Cody, something like that.
Literally last summer.
They bought it last summer. Ironically, they bought it from one of our cash investors who is a fix and flipper, right? They bought it from him as a fix and flipper, and then we're ending up buying it from them on a subject to, which is freaking unbelievable how the world works. So you don't need money to invest in this business, and I'm going to break down a couple other ways that you can buy houses with no money out of your pocket. So hopefully that makes sense. I basically take a product that somebody else is selling to me, and I sell it to somebody else at a higher rate, but I charge them in a higher interest rate, and that's where I make my cash flow. So, is it weird to not hear me talking?
Yeah, it's kind
like,
of
holy crap. Like when Pace is around, his voice is just constantly going all day long. So let's see if we got any questions about any of that stuff. Hopefully that helps. Pace, how do you keep track of the monthly cash flows of the loans between the original seller and the wrap, especially when you're starting to getting volume? We have somebody in our office that does all that stuff. We have a CPA, we have a bookkeeper, we have all that kind of stuff. But you really don't need to worry about it when you're under 25 doors. It really is not that much to manage. It's honestly for like 25 doors. I would say it's probably an hour a week, wouldn't you say, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, some weeks are more than other. Obviously, with the coronavirus, checking in on the tenants is, doing, a little bit more. But if you screen them right, that would be the biggest thing is if you have good tenants, it's not going to require a lot. You have good houses for your tenants. You don't bring a shitty product to market for your tenants to live in. You're not a slumlord. You put out a good product. You're going to have higher quality tenants. And in turn, you're going to have less management of those tenants because you have a good product. So that's, so people don't get it twisted. You have to have good products and good expectations and good screening.
Hey guys, I know this code on the screen is kind of jumbled, but we just had somebody, if we have, Ivy Data Skip is really good. I like Kyle Wyloj. I know the owner of Ivy, but they're very expensive, like incredibly expensive. Not even comparable. I love Kyle. He's an amazing guy. One of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. But Batch Skip has very, very, very good data at a very good price. That's our discount code. I think there's like 4 people in the nation that have that code. It's like Steve Trang, Brent Daniels, Jamil Damji, and ourselves. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of reprieve. Ivy's good, but they're expensive. And I know Kyle personally. I've known Kyle for like 8 years. He's an awesome, super smart guy. So let's go through a couple questions. Other ways to make money on subject to without coming out of pocket. Let's talk about that. Okay. Number one, the number one exit strategy for zero out of pocket, the number one exit strategy is wholesale. So I have an assignment specifically for subject to, guys. You don't want to just do an assignment for a regular assignment on a subject to. You have to make sure that the buyer that's buying the house from you, subject to, doesn't matter if it's a cash buyer and you think they know what they're doing, they absolutely have to sign a very specific assignment contract. So we have that assignment contract. We assign wholesale. We assign subject to deals nationwide. There are a lot of legalities you'll run into by assigning a subject to without doing the proper disclosures. Do not just wholesale. Do not just get a house subject to and then wholesale it out. There's a specific set of documents you need to do that. Hit me up if you guys actually run into that. But you can wholesale subject twos all day long. Wholesale subject twos, wholesale seller finance. You can even wholesale lease options, believe it or not. So wholesale is a really great way to do it. If you get a house under contract, you don't have to come up with any money on that deal on subject to. Has zero equity. That's the freaking cool thing about creative financing is that you can get a house under contract as a wholesaler utilizing subject to, and you can make an assignment fee as big or bigger than you would have on any of your other wholesale deals. We've paid like $25,000 assignment fees on subject twos that people have sent to us that we decided to acquire. I think that one on Wilson, we ended up paying like $48,000 or some crazy number. Like if it makes sense, cash flow wise, we're going to pay an assignment fee that just makes sense. So you can wholesale a deal. Another way to do it is a wrap. So the challenge with a wrap, guys, is that you're not the owner of the property, okay? You are not the owner of the property. You might own a note on the property, meaning that I have a document that states that I'm owed money and that I'm owed interest on a monthly basis. That's basically all I own, but I'm not a real estate owner. I don't get the depreciation. Don't get the appreciation. I don't get the mortgage pay down. I don't get a lot of the benefits, but a wrap is a really great way to make an upfront fee on a subject to deal and then also a monthly cash flow on top of that. And then another one to do is, hi, sweetheart. My wife brought me In-N-Out Burger because she's like, oh, he's working really hard. Let me go get him In-N-Out Burger. So thanks, sweetheart. Anyway, you can do a wrap. You can also, this one's like really, really easy as well, is you can do a lease option. Okay. Now, why would I do a lease option? So Cody, let me ask you on that deal on, what's the street name on the house that we were talking about this morning that we're going to sell to Frank?
Oh, Lawson.
Okay, Lawson. Let me ask you like an honest question. This is not like contrived or trying to encourage a conversation. I really want to know, why wouldn't we just lease option that deal? I have the answer, but I want to see what your answer is on that. Why wouldn't we lease option Lawson, why would we wrap that instead of a lease option?
I mean, doing a wrap on it just makes a lot of sense. It's already a totally remodeled property. It's a great product. It would go very quickly just because of the price point that that property's at, and we'd be able to get out of it. And as far as the property itself, it's a mobile home. You're going to get more appreciation by, keeping like a single family home. Like on a mobile home, you're not seeing as much appreciation because a lot of the value in a mobile home is in the land itself. So, we could sell it, be out of the deal, be out of the management. Obviously, we don't get the benefits of, the tax benefits and things like that, but we could wrap it, be out of that deal, and make the money on paper instead of, hoping for it to appreciate and all that on a lease option.
Yeah, that's all.
And we want the cash now.
Yeah, the cash. I think the cash is a really good one. So like, we'll get $13,000 on that deal up front, right? So you assign that out for 20. Yeah. You assign it. You wrap it out for 20,000, and then let's assume Frank's an end buyer, not another investor. Let's say Frank is an end buyer, not another investor. We sell that on a wrap to him. We get $20,000 up front. He covers our entry fee into the deal. We keep $13,000, and then on a monthly basis, we get cash flow. Now what's dope is that now we have cash flow and we've sold that property to him at a higher dollar amount. Therefore, we've got another paid out day coming down the road. And we've also taken that $13,000 and used that to go buy another deal. So that's why sometimes you'll do a wrap instead of a lease option, guys, is that a wrap can sometimes cause you to get a chunk of money, a windfall of money, and then you can go be involved in 2 different deals instead of just one. Alifa Daily. We are only buying in Arizona right now. We are helping people. I'd say on a daily basis, we're helping people offload subject to deals nationwide. So if you guys want help, Hayel, I don't know if she's watching right now, but I'm going to put her number in here. Hayel will help you guys with offloading deals nationwide, subject to lease options, whatever. And we're always happy to help with that. But right now, because of the coronavirus thing, like Atlanta, we were buying in Atlanta. I was like super excited. I was thinking I was going to move to Atlanta and then call Cody and be like, hey, bro, I moved to Atlanta. We've got new headquarters. But now Atlanta, all of Georgia courts are closed. So you can't even close escrow on any deal, let alone subject to. You can't do traditional or anything else. Everything's closed down. So when things are tricky and we're dealing with being in escrow, I think we had like 6 or 7 deals in escrow in Atlanta about 10 days ago, and then things changed. So it's like, why would I spend all my time and energy in Atlanta right now when I know Arizona can still close things virtually? They can close transactions here in Maricopa County digitally. They don't have to be, their courtrooms don't have, or their courts don't have to be open. Is there a minimum time frame for a buyer to exercise their option so an investor can make money? Cody, what's your answer on that?
Sorry, I was cutting out. What was the question again?
It's on the screen.
Oh, is there a minimum time frame for buyers to exercise their option? So investor can make money. Yeah, so there is no minimum time unless you specifically write that in the agreement. So specifically for our lease options, we're doing them anywhere from 5 to 7 years is typically what we do on our lease options. So there's a longer period of time for our lease option resident to be able to exercise their option and purchase the property. But we do have some of those residents that they say, hey, I want to be able to buy it within the next 1.5 to 2 years. I'm self-employed. I'm getting my taxes done. I'm getting all of the things in order. So I'm going to be able to actually buy it. They can buy it sooner for sure. Unless you specifically say they can't, they can buy it as soon as it's the option to exercise that right at any time.
Right. So guys, if you're getting any value, we've had between, depending on what platform you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, or otherwise, we're hovering between 200 and 250 people. That's what we see, because we see all the platforms we're currently on. We're between 200 and 250 people. So guys, tell me, so Matt Reed, you must be in Texas. We can do 5-year lease options in Arizona. Here in Texas, you guys have a 3-year maximum, a 36-month lease option. We don't have that here. We can do 10-year lease options if we wanted to. Not that that's a good idea, but I'm just saying we have no limitations on our lease options here in Phoenix. So guys, if you're getting value here, please like take a screenshot of this, put it on Instagram, tag Cody, tag me. We don't get paid for this. Like my wife, it's Sunday night. I could be hanging out with my 2 kids and my wife right now, making more babies, but instead I'm helping you guys out because we get so many questions. So my IG name is Pace Morby. Cody is Cody Barton official because there's like so many other Cody Bartons. Guys, seriously, like we want to get this back up to 500 people watching this live. Elizabeth Navarrete, she is amazing. If you guys are in the Houston market and you don't have a flood property, send it over to Elizabeth. She's amazing. We love her. She's honestly one of my favorite stages I've ever spoken on was at Elizabeth Navarrete and her husband. They put on the most amazing event. No joke. Out of all the events, Jamil, Brent Daniels, Steve Trang, all of us have gone on. We talk about it, you know, when you go to lunch, so we talk about how amazing Elizabeth's events are. She is unbelievable. So if you guys are not following Elizabeth, follow her. She's unbelievable. So guys, if you're getting value out of this, we're going to keep going probably another 30 minutes or so. I want you guys to take a screenshot, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. Let's get the word out that Sunday service is back up and going. And let's get this back up to 400 or 500 people watching this on Sunday nights. That's going to keep Cody and I wanting to do this every week. Otherwise, we're going to if we're only going to get 200 to 300 people watching this at a time, we're only going to do it once a month or maybe twice a month at the most. Elizabeth, I love you. You're amazing. You're one of my favorite people in the whole world. Thank you so much. So guys, screenshot.
We had a question, real quick, Pace. We had a question on books recommended for negotiations with seller. You're actually going live on Tuesday at 5:00 Arizona time. So that's at Pacific, 5 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. You're going to go live in the Facebook group, just talking about, you know, negotiations and sales directly with the seller, maybe breaking down a couple seller conversations that you've had recently, things that we're working on, you know, with, you know, like expectations that are being set with sellers because of the coronavirus. So those are some of the things that Pace is going to be talking about, guys. 5 p.m. Tuesday in the creative Facebook group. Again, like Pace was saying, if you guys are getting value, share with your friends, save that time, because that's going to be, you know, Pace is a ninja at the sales. There's no one better, in my opinion, at closing sellers than Pace is, just hands down. Like, if you want a seller to get closed, Pace is the guy. So you don't want to miss that call.
You guys want to know my secret tactic to closing sellers? The number one rule to closing sellers is never stop talking. So guys, honestly, let's get some questions going. We've got a whole bunch. So Matt Reed. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do an op. By the way, Matt, you're amazing. Matt's done a lot of lease options. When I say a lot, I'm talking like over 500, 600. Matt's always in here, at least the last couple of weeks, adding a lot of value. So I appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. CPG, you hit it on the head. Never split. Here, let me tell you the honest thing with Never Split the Difference. I'm going to tell you guys something that's amazing. Never Split the Difference is an amazing book. It makes you feel good when you're reading it. But at the end of the day, when you implement all those strategies that he utilizes, guys, he was a freaking hostage negotiator. That is not how you talk to sellers. That is not how you work out negotiations in a win-win scenario. He is amazing, but he has a little bit more of a harsh world. Like for him, it's like Never Split the Difference is the actual title of the book. It's an amazing book. Do not get me wrong. But if I had every relationship and every conversation I have with Cody or other business partners or sellers, where basically there's like a middle ground, in his book is like Never Split the Difference. Take everything. It's all towards you. You negotiate everything towards you. It's too harsh. And the reason why we convert at a high level is because we're looking for a win-win scenario. And he's amazing, but he was a hostage negotiator for the FBI for a reason. It's a very, very harsh way to go about it. And if you base your negotiations and your contracts off of his book entirely, you're going to be stuck in a world of non-conversion, or you're going to be stuck in a world where you'll get contracts, but then people are going to cancel on you the second that you leave the house, and that negative energy is gone. He's very good. Don't get me wrong. I think you can take 75% of his book and apply it to your business right now. However, I would look at the Sandler method. Guys like, what's his name? He's out of Colorado. He's like John Martinez. So John Martinez was a Sandler student. He basically took Sandler and skinned it to be his own. Applause to him. He's done a great job. I would say John Martinez is pretty good. Sandler's amazing. Sandler's where I learned my sales tactics. So I would look up the Sandler technique. I would look up the submarine of pain, basically, or the pain submarine. So it basically talks about going through compartments and all that stuff. It's one of the best ways to negotiate with a seller. What are your top 2 marketing strategies, Cody? Richie Knowles wants to know.
Cold call, text. That's what are our top. Those are our only 2 that we actually spend money on.
Right. We were doing door knocking, but that slowed down a little bit, obviously.
Yeah, but we aren't spending money on that either.
Yeah. We don't spend money on that up front, which is amazing. I would say, let's see. So let's talk about that for a second. Cody, where do we have our cold callers? We had a cold call company that we were using for a good amount of time in the Philippines, but what happened with them just recently?
Coronavirus hit. There was a call center, 150 agents, and they had to close the call center. So literally 150 agents went without work. So we actually found a few guys that had started building a virtual call center where people are working from home in the Philippines. And so, we've basically, created a relationship with them, and that's who we're using now, which you can post on their vahubonline.com. They're getting pretty backlogged because a lot of those 150 agents had clients that are now getting flooded. So, you have to move fast on that, but there's definitely some opportunities to get help with your cold call management and your text management with vahubonline.com.
Yeah, it's really good. In fact, I just onboarded somebody for my personal assistant stuff. Like I reached out to Cody. I was like, hey, I need a personal assistant, like a VA that just helps me with a couple of things that don't need to be handled like face-to-face. And Cody just reached out to VA Hub Online, and my dude's name Jammy? Like
Jammy.
I was like second guessing his name the whole time. But guys, I have a new VA, works for me full time. His name's Jammy. I onboarded him today at 2 p.m. We just did a screen share, and I told him all the things I needed done. And he's on it, dude. It's like for $600 a month, Jammy will work for me full time and take probably 2 full-time jobs off my plate. So if you guys need VAs, I would reach out to Cody for that. Cody will introduce you to Daryl. He's the owner of the company. So VA Hub Online, or just reach out to Cody. Cody, can you write stuff in the comments?
It won't
let you?
No.
What's your email?
Email is Cody, CodySells@gmail.com.
Awesome. Let's tell people about our SMS platform. We are switching over to batch leads. We were using Roar for a long time.
Yep.
We liked Roar. What did Roar?
So here's one of the literally today, right? So one of our VAs, Gina Lynn, she's awesome. So she messages me today. We text and call 7 days a week, so that we're marketing every day. So we're hitting every single person we can. Gina Lynn messaged me, one of our VAs that we've sourced through VA Hub Online, says, "Hey Cody, just wanted to see if there's something wrong with Roar. Gerald, which is another one of our VAs, has received 400 messages today, and I've only received 100. And we've sent out the same amount of messages on both of their campaigns." So basically what that means is we're getting blocked for spam. We're getting marked as spam from the carriers, and it's not allowing a lot of the messages to be sent through because we're sending too many messages. And so the reason that we're switching from Roar over to batch, the batch texting system is primarily because it's actually compliant. So the carriers aren't blocking the phone numbers that you're texting from on batch. Whereas Roar, it's a non-compliant system. Love the system, but it's just as carriers became more strict, it's just not working as well as it used to. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we're switching.
Yeah. So guys, I'm going to jump through a couple of questions here. Rita Ben How. That's a dope name if that's your real name. I like that. But on subject to what happens after a few years if the seller or you pass away. So if I pass away, what happens? Cody becomes a very rich 25-year-old, or my wife gets the property, right? So we have a partnership, Cody and I, where we have a partnership agreement. And that partnership agreement says exactly what's supposed to happen if I die. My wife, my estate inherits that property. It doesn't inherit it. It already owns it, right? So my wife is part owner of my entire entity structure. So there's nothing she does. She just steps in. Now, because Cody might not want to work with my wife as a partner, Cody has a buyout agreement that says if he wants to buy me out and not have my wife involved in the partnership anymore, he can do that. So that's what a good partnership agreement will have in it, guys, is buyout agreements if one person dies or doesn't. I've learned this the hard way, unfortunately, not because of death, but just because you get sick of partners because they don't work. I can tell you, Cody, in all the years I've worked with probably 25 different partners, Cody's the only person that I would say works as hard as I do. And I don't have to ask him what he's doing. He's like constantly saying, oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. Same thing with me. I don't think Cody ever has to wonder whether I'm working or not. In fact, there's like times where Cody's like, hey, can you please stop creating new businesses for like 2 weeks so I can catch up, right?
Kind of catch up on all the details.
Right. So that's what happens if I die. My estate takes it over now, or already owns it, and we don't have to worry about it. But what happens if the seller dies? Nothing. In fact, when somebody we get calls, we've got a property on Pueblo. Did we actually close escrow on that? Because that's been like another week late. What's going on there?
This week we're supposed to close on the 31st, so that's when closing is set for.
We buy property subject to where sellers have died 6 months ago, right? So we have a property on Pueblo. Brent Daniels and I are going to be doing a YouTube channel video on this on our YouTube. We call one of our shows is called The Real Deal. So go check that out. It walks through real deals on the properties that we've purchased, and we kind of break down each individual deal so you guys can see real deals and their structures. So Brent Daniels has a guy named Eric who works for him. Eric reaches out to me and says, hey, I've got a seller that has no equity. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She doesn't have the right to sell the property and they're in foreclosure. What do I do? And I'm like, why doesn't she have the right to sell the property? Is it because she inherited the estate and she hasn't gone through probate? And he's like, maybe. So I get on the phone with the seller. I meet the seller at the property that day, and the seller is the daughter of the deceased. So the deceased had passed away 5 months prior. The daughters had inherited the house and they couldn't afford the payment. So I told them, well, what's your plan? Are you just going to let the house go to foreclosure? She goes, well, we can't afford it. And it doesn't really have a lot of equity. So it doesn't make sense for us to go and take it through probate. We'll just let the thing go. And I go, what if I pay for it to go through probate? And then you have the ability to sell it to me on subject to, I'll give you, she asked for $500 is all she asked for. And so we ended up giving her, I think, $1,000 plus paid for the probate. So I think we're all into that deal. Like, I don't know, probate was like $3,500 or something. And then cash to the seller and closing costs. So I think we're all into that $1,000. But our mortgage payment is $400 a month, and it can rent out for $1,200 a month. So we've got an $800 cash flower on a deal that somebody's not even alive. So not only do we not worry about when somebody passes away, if somebody's already dead, we will still buy their house and take over their mortgage. I know it sounds weird, but as long as the payment as long as the bank is getting their payment, 99% of the time they just simply don't care. So hopefully that answers that question. Have you guys ever used GEO Point?
Never heard of it.
I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, and I travel the country, so I would imagine that is not. So I am. I'm going to be a little bit brash here. This goes on YouTube and this goes on Facebook, but I'm going to make a comment to you guys about Lead Sherpa. I don't know him personally, but I've met the owner of the company in person, and I've seen the way he treats his customers. I would never use that company, Lead Sherpa. And when I asked that owner of Lead Sherpa to apologize to the people that he made look like complete fools, he told me to F off and blah, blah, blah. And I just told him, I said, any chance I get, whenever somebody brings up Lead Sherpa, I swear to you on my dogs, I will bring up your name, which I don't. That's a little bit harsh. But I will bring up your company and I will let them know that your customer service is horrible and the way you treat your people is trash. And you tell people to F off when they ask you simple questions. So I don't care how good his product is. The guy treats his customers like crap. And I see the people at Batch. I get to actually see them all the time because Cody and I have 2 offices. We have a Central Phoenix office and we have a Mesa office. And our Central Phoenix office, we actually share an office with Batch. So we see their people. They're absolutely amazing. And that, for me, goes a really long way.
Everett, we can help you with your sub too. Reach out to Hyel and Brandon. We'll be able to help out with that.
Yes. Chirply. So Patrick Brown, never heard of Chirply. I've literally been in like big seminars. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people about their lead generation. I've never heard of Chirply. Let's see. Silly question. Do you ever skip the Sandler upfront contract? No. So guys, what Brandon Rayburn is bringing up is the upfront contract. So when I talk to a seller, I always have the seller and I reach an agreement before I even walk in the house. And that's called the upfront contract. So you're setting the tone for the conversation, you're setting the tone for the buy appointment, and you're setting the tone for the rest of you trying to convert that deal. The upfront contract basically sounds like this. Hey, Cody, do you mind if I just take a couple of minutes and tell you what today is going to sound, look like, sound like, smell like, whatever? Cody says, absolutely. And I go, great. So what's going to happen today is one of a couple of things. Either A, we're going to strike an agreement. B, I'm going to decide I don't want the deal. Or C, you're going to decide you don't want to sell it to me. Any one of those 3 is okay with me. But I just want to ask you today, if we decide to work together and we strike a number, we strike a timeline, are we moving forward today or am I wasting my time? I literally ask that in like 99.9% of appointments, is I just say, hey, if we work out a price today, are we moving forward or should I go buy the next house that it's noon today. It's noon right now. I've got an appointment at 2 o'clock. Should I go buy the house at 2 o'clock or are you actually ready to move forward today? That's an upfront contract. And Brandon, I never skip the upfront contract. Never, ever skip the upfront contract. In fact, Tino, one of our acquisition managers, walks me through an appointment he had about a month ago. I was in Vegas at a speaking engagement and wow, maybe it was like 6 weeks ago. Feels like we've been in this world for a bit. But I was at a speaking engagement with Jamil and went to 10X and did all that kind of stuff all the same weekend. And Tino calls me. He's like, hey, man, I just went on this appointment and I want to know, what did I do wrong? He walks me through the whole thing. And I said, you missed the upfront contract. Otherwise, you would have gotten that deal. And he goes, or you would have walked away, right? So, Brandon, a lot of people are so easy to just give the seller their price, like what I'm willing to pay for it. You will never, ever hear me bring up a price to a seller that I'm willing to pay for it, ever. Not one time, ever, ever, ever. So you guys, when you hear us cold calling, you'll hear that I don't bring up the price to the seller, ever. I ask the seller where they would be, and that when the seller says, well, I'm not going to give that to you, I go, that's really interesting. That's like selling a car on Craigslist and putting it up for $0 and say, make me an offer. You're not really going to get the number you want. So why would it be any different than selling your house? In fact, with your house, you should definitely be naming your price because it's such a big asset. I don't care if your number is completely crazy. At least let's start at your number. We don't want to start at my number. If we start at my number, oh my gosh, let's not start at my number. And a lot of times they'll say, well, what is your number? I go, my number is always the same. It's 0. My number is 0. Let's not start at my number. Let's start at your number because I don't want to get kicked out of your house right now. And what you're doing is you're conditioning the seller to just now giving you numbers, even though they know they're fake and even though they know they're absolutely astronomical, at least they have now given you a number and now you have a place to start. So the upfront contract allows me to do that, and I never, ever, ever give a seller a number. Let me see here real quick. Listen, I know the struggle is real, but there are some low-cost ways, even if it's through free trials. Oh, it must be... Let's see. Hold on. Somebody's talking about they must be having a hard time breaking into the business or something. Sorry, we must have missed that, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm busy talking. when do you get your wholesale buy price from Jamil? We get our wholesale buy price from Jamil. I don't know. We love Jamil. We've been really building our own buyers list. I would say Keegley does sell. I don't know. What would you say? 10% of our deals, something like that.
Yeah. They have some niche buyers. Super grateful for the ones they've been able to help us sell for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan. So this is Jonathan Mark asked a really good question. But you called me, right? I actually dealt with this the other day. Sorry, Atima, your post must be like really, really high up there. I'm so sorry. Copy and paste it down below. If I spend the time scrolling back up there, it's going to eat up a lot of my talk time, and that's all I want to do is talk. So I apologize. So, Jonathan, this happens all the time. I would say like 20% of the people that we talk to, the sellers will say, well, you called me. So the reply to that is always, okay, great. But why did you take the call? Is there any motivation to sell your property, or did we waste your time? I'm so sorry if we did. You come off completely different and basically breaking down their barriers. You don't jump back on them like, oh, I used to be like, oh, well, man, you know, now I just say, oh, I'm so sorry. If we were wasting your time, just let me know. But Cody, do you have the batch leads 500 free text thing?
Dog, I already just posted it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. So guys, Jonathan, that's how I talk to sellers. So the seller says, well, you called me. Say, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. A couple of our team members called you. I'm sorry if we're wasting your time. I just want to see where you're at. And if we're not a good fit, that's perfectly fine. I'm sorry if we have wasted your time, but where are you at? Are you in a stage right now where you're ready to sell, or should our team check in with you next year? And I throw that out like way far, not like next week, because they're always going to say no. But if I say, should we just check back in with you next year? They'll say, oh, no. Like, I'm fine talking. What is your price? And then the conversation gets away from the fact that I called them. A lot of my team members, like when they first start, that's a trip up, right? They're afraid of the confrontation, basically. The seller is just when the seller says that, when they throw that up in your face, like, well, you called me, that's just a defense mechanism. They know you're a salesperson, so they're throwing up any defensive walls they possibly can. So you just want to pull that down and just say, you're absolutely right. We did call you, but we are on the phone together, and I just want to make sure that we're not wasting your time. Do you actually have any motivation to sell your property, or should we check back with you in a year or so? And throw that off as if you don't care whether you stay on the phone with them or not, and you're going to actually get them to engage and actually have a good conversation. Let's see. Pace, I got a lady in pre-foreclosure. We have discussed price. But we have discussed price and we are there, but she won't commit to signing the contract yet. So Patrick, the reason why she's not committing to signing the contract is a couple of things. You did not do the upfront contract. Do you know what an upfront contract is? Rewind the tape 7 minutes when I talked about it. You should have, and we always do, is we say, hey, Mrs. Seller, if we do agree to a price, are we moving forward, or should I go and buy the next property that I've got in my pipeline? I always set the tone for that so that when we're ready to go and the seller says, well, I'm not ready to sign, I'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm super confused. I thought we had an agreement that if we worked at a price, and here I am wasting your time. I'm so sorry. It sounds like are you not ready to sell your property? It's very rare for me now to get to a point where a seller says, yes, I'm ready to go, and they don't actually move forward because I use the upfront contract. And then number two, I can tell you right now, if she's not signing with you, it's because she's competing. She's taking your offer, your number. This is why I never give sellers numbers, ever. And we know this internally in our team is when Anna or somebody says, oh, I'm working with a seller, but they haven't signed the contract. They haven't signed the contract. Cody will send me a text and go, you got to get in there, dude. The sales team is giving out buy prices and the sellers aren't buying, or the sellers aren't signing. A lot of it comes down to the fact that you just it's called casting your pearl before swine, or dropping your candy in the lobby. You gave your only value away to that seller, Patrick. The only value you have as a wholesaler or investor is your buy price. It's the only reason they keep you around. So what happens is they get your buy price, and I'm not joking, you guys. Everybody's listening to this. Every seller you're talking to is talking to 25 other wholesalers, either text, cold calls, whatever. They are talking to dozens of other wholesalers. So when you give them your price, now they have no reason to talk to you. They have no reason to sign. They're now going to be shopping you. So that's what's happened. You gave her your price without having her commit to signing to you up front, which is the upfront contract. So hopefully that answers. let's see, what's a typical down payment you ask when you're selling on a wrap to an end buyer? I would say most wrap buyers can stomach between $20,000 and $30,000 as a down payment. When you start getting more than that, you are entering into a world of pain. Wouldn't you agree to that, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the end consumer that's going to be buying it, most people, if they have saved money in anticipation of buying a home, it's usually, 20, 30 grand. And these are people that know that they're not going to be able to qualify to go to, Bank of America and get a loan. So they typically understand they're going to be putting more money down. So it's usually 15, 20,000, super common, up to 30,000 is a little bit less common, but it can get up to that as well.
Yep. So I got a couple of really good questions here. So Atima Porta, been following up with the seller since August. Last week finally gave me a number of 130. Ridiculous number. I'm only offering 90 to 100K. Number one, Atima, I get the number from the seller in the first conversation or in the very late, like in the last ditch effort. It's usually like the second or third conversation. I would have never wasted that much time talking to a seller if I didn't get their price from them back in August or September or October. You spent a lot of time talking to a seller that you should have let go of. You absolutely should have let that seller go, or you should have asked them their price and then continually followed up with them. That's just my opinion on the surface. Now he was saying he has other offers higher. Of course he does. They always say that first and foremost, always. That's like, if a seller doesn't say that to us now, I'm like, wow.
It's like a girl saying they have a boyfriend.
Oh my gosh. Now he is saying he has other offers higher. I have a buyer ready to go, no inspection period. Is this worth dealing with this anymore? Absolutely it is. $30,000 spread. You're offering $90,000 to $100,000. What I would do is, this is typically what I ask the seller, is I'll call the seller and I'll say, oh my gosh, so you've got higher offers. That's amazing. So it sounds like I'm not a good buyer for you. Do you mind if I just help you pick and choose which one of the other buyers you should go with? Because I know I can't pay that much money, but we've spent a lot of time together building rapport. Do you mind if I just come by and take a look at the other offers that you're getting? And I can help you decipher which person is a real buyer and which one is not. 9 times out of 10, I'm buying that house. Do you know why? Because I go to them, I go, oh, this offer doesn't have earnest money of, let's say the earnest money is $100. I go, wow, only $100 earnest money? I at least do 1,000, or I at least do 150, or I at least do $10,000. We got a contract, Cody and I got a contract a couple months ago because I told the seller, I go, I know you've got other offers higher than me, so why don't we just disconnect me as the buyer and I'll just take a look at all your other contracts. And I looked at the earnest money of the contracts. Okay, well, if he's out of state absentee, you're sitting here watching me do a Sunday service at 9 o'clock at night in Arizona. You've never met me, Atima. We're using technology to communicate. You can communicate with that seller through technology. Have him send you photos. Get on the phone with him and say, you know what? I'm not a good buyer for you. I already know that. Your 130 is a crazy good price. Do you mind if I just make sure with you that those buyers are true buyers and they're giving you the right kind of contract? They're giving you the right type of earnest money. They're giving you all the right types of things, so I can at least take the relationship we've built since August and give you some sort of value, even though I'm not the buyer. Okay, so we do that all the time. I disconnect myself as the buyer, therefore they disengage their defense mechanisms, and they now let us in and they let us know exactly what kind of contracts they have, and then we end up just buying the deal anyway. So that's exactly what I would do. I literally, like, word for word would say a lot of what I just told you. It's not like and it's true. It's like, I'm not a buyer at 130, so why don't you just leverage my experience? In the very least, Atima, you're going to get some really good experience talking to that seller. So really, truly walk into that relationship and go, hey, Mr. Seller, I know I can't pay 130. That's just way, way high. But you know what? We've had a really good relationship for the last 6 months. Do you mind if I just help you navigate through that? And I won't charge you anything, but I just want to make sure that the relationship we have, I want to see you all the way to the end of selling that property. I can help you find a buyer for that. Let me know, blah, 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 blah. Let me know the terms on the deal and you can help them out. Doesn't matter that they're out of state or in state. Cody, did you have a question you wanted to answer?
Yeah. Question on marketing strategy we should focus on if we're on a dental floss budget. I don't know what dollar amount that is. I'm assuming $500 or less a month. Dude, in and out. that sounds good right now.
Hey, everybody on the East Coast, sorry. This place is the best, dude. Anyway, so dental floss budget, he's saying like bootstrap budget?
Yeah, bootstrap budget. I mean, a super low budget like that, I would look at the cheapest methods. I would literally, get like PropStream set up, pull pre-foreclosures from PropStream, skip trace those with batch. It'll be, you'll spend a couple $100s a month because there's not that many pre-foreclosures, and then spend your time calling, or you could use, the texting for $1 to get 500 free texts with batch, and text those people, cold call them yourself. That's what I would do until you get your first deal. I would say door knocking, but because of the coronavirus and I don't know where you're at, I don't know if that would be, advisable right now. But outside of that, I would cold call them yourself, call the pre-foreclosures. They're the highest amount of pain and motivation there. See how you can help solve those people's problems, get paid, and then start reinvesting into getting some cold callers actually hired and calling, and getting some automated lead gen coming in. So that's what I would do.
Love that answer. That's a really good one. Hey, Mike, I really appreciate you saying this. It's on the screen. Dude, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. We put a lot of work into this and bringing value to people. Atima, just so you know, we have a recording, actually a video recording of me in a seller's house 2 weeks ago. Anna recorded the entire thing on her iPhone. It's an hour and 20-minute meeting where I disconnected myself as the buyer. I told them, oh my gosh, you are so far off from our number. I already know I'm not a good buyer for you, but let me find a buyer for you. And they ended up bringing their price down from like 160 down to like 110 because I was like, I'm not the buyer. And you will hear me flat out tell the sellers, like, your number is crazy. Like, I think you should absolutely take that number. I think that's so crazy high that if you don't take that number, you would be crazy. So I disconnect myself from that situation. Now they disengage and they stop looking at me as their competition. They let down all the shields and they go, well, where would you buy it? And go, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy your house. And they go, well, then why are you here? And I go, well, I drove 45 minutes to come meet you at the house. I might as well at least give you some sort of value. I literally say all this stuff in the video recording. I'll have Anna post it on the Facebook group tomorrow so you guys can watch this. But literally, Atima, everything I tell that seller, you need to say the same thing. We ended up getting that deal. Let's answer a couple more questions. We're at the 2-hour mark, which is usually about when people start being like, oh my gosh, I'm sick of Pace's voice.
If you're getting value, take a picture, post us on Instagram, tag your friends. If you get value from the Facebook group, add friends to the Facebook group. We're, our goal is to grow this community and, continue to add value in the biggest way that we possibly can. And, growing the community is the way that we get, we see that we're actually doing our job and bringing good value to you guys.
Okay, Atima. So here's what I would say is, Atima, if you are a buyer at $90,000 to $100,000, I've got her response to what I just told her on this back on the screen. If you're a buyer at $90,000 to $100,000, somebody's offering $130,000. Number one, there's no way that you're that far off on your comps that somebody else, another wholesaler, is willing to pay $130,000 and you're only willing to pay $90,000 to $100,000, unless you're greedy. If you're trying to make a $50,000 rip on this dude, then maybe adjust your purchase price. But I don't think that's the situation. So let's throw that to the side and just assume that's not the problem. I'll try, but I think he's greedy and denial. Yeah, typically sellers are. He would always tell me to call back in those 6 months, talk the most through the last few weeks, shaking my head. Thanks for the input. So, Atima, here's what I would say to you. We need to get you more sellers to talk to. That's it. That's the answer to everything. It's like people that break up with their girlfriend sulk and sob until they find another girlfriend. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I broke up with my previous girlfriend. I'm not saying break up with this seller. I'm just saying go get some other options. And then that way he doesn't smell your commission breath. I can tell you he smells your commission breath and he is playing games with you all day long. So you got to understand what you're doing is that you probably seem a little desperate to him, or you seem like a salesperson. And so he's taking advantage of you and leveraging you. Hi, come here.
Bedtime for Corbin.
The baby.
Oh.
She's getting ready to go to bed. So anyway, guys, I think we had a good thing. Any last questions you want to answer, Cody?
I don't see anything else right now. Real quick, guys. Tuesday, 5 p.m. in the Creative Financing Facebook group with Pace. He's going to be going over a couple deals that we worked on with sellers, specifically the strategies that were used to negotiate to get that contract signed, going over, objections and different things like that, and just to open Q&A on, sales talk. So make sure to save the date for Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And that's really it. If you guys got value from this, repost on your Instagram, your Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Pace, you have anything else you want to share?
Guys, thank you so much. Cody and I spend, I've got my wife and my baby here. We spend our Sunday nights giving you guys value and just trying to help you guys out. We truly want to take your learning curve and basically take our learning curve of seller financing and creative financing and subject twos and wholesale. Took years, and how much money in training. I mean, I've been to $20,000 seminars, $5,000 seminars, and I swear to you, we give more value on one Sunday service than most $5,000 and $10,000 seminars given a 3-day event. So
yeah.
Anyway, if you guys get value, again, invite people to the Facebook group. Let's try and grow the community. Thank you guys so much. Your positive comments are super helpful. Follow both Cody and myself on Instagram, and we'll see you guys next week for next Sunday service. Thank you so much.